Thanks, Kara. Hi, Frank.
Hi, Rajul. How do you like the conference so far? Let's take a scale from 0 to 10.
Oh, I would give it a 10. It's been a great experience.
And would you recommend it to friends? Also, scale from 0 to 10.
I'll give it an 8.
An 8? Why just an 8? Could you elaborate in more detail why you rate this way?
Yeah, sure. I actually typed up all of that in this document, so I can give it to you. Right there.
Thank you. Rajul, are you kidding me? Who should read all this? I get this tons of stuff every day. Yeah, nobody can read this. That's
no. Hi, everyone. I'm Rajul Jain from Microsoft, here with Frank Buckler from Success Drivers. And we are here to talk to you about a solution that we have developed that will help you stop wasting the valuable customer feedback that you guys collect and start actioning on it with valuable insights coming out of it. Frank, can we get the deck over? We don't see it yet.
Why not? Wait a minute.
Sometimes it takes twice.
Here we go.
It's coming up. Perfect. We have it. All right. So our goal today is to share with you our end-to-end solution that we have developed over the past 1 year that helps us maximize the benefits of customer feedback. And then it also helps you triple the customer experience impact of uncovering key actions based on the insights that you collect with your customer feedback. And as such, it helps you gain senior leadership trust by predictive outcomes and impacts of insights. Frank is gonna, towards the end of the presentation, gonna talk about an end-to-end package that he has developed that we have been leveraging for over a year now, successfully driving the actions and business strategy at Microsoft. But before we delve into any of the specifics of our solutions, I always like to start with some words of wisdom, the North Star that keeps us driving every day. And these words come from no other than our amazing CEO, Satya Nadella. Satya, in one of his keynotes, said, "First, we need to obsess about our customers. At the core of our business must be the curiosity and desire to meet a customer's unarticulated and unmet needs. And there's no way to do that unless we absorb with deeper insights and empathy what they need. When we talk to customers, we need to listen, and it's not an idle exercise." These are the words that inspire us every day. This is the North Star that we keep in mind as we move forward with collecting customer feedback and creating insights from it. But being customer obsessed is not enough because synthesizing customer feedback is hard. If you guys collect any sort of survey data or unstructured data, you know what I'm talking about. It is a very hard endeavor. What you really need is a smart and intelligent listening system that can go through all of this customer feedback, synthesize it, package it into insights, and bring it out in a way that is actionable. Because a lot of times the insights that we take to our senior leaders are not actionable. And that's where these platforms fail because they do not give you that meaningful insight. And man, it is hard. I totally understand. What you see on the screen is one of the thousands of verbatims that we collect every quarter. This is very long. This is very complicated. If you look at the codes that we generated based on this feedback, there are 20, 30 of those. How can a group of human beings go through all of this feedback and synthesize it into meaningful insights? It's really hard. That's when machine learning and AI can help you. In partnership with us, Frank has developed a solution that helps you do that at scale so you can be more efficient and more effective with your insights. So now I'm going to tell you a little bit about how we have leveraged that solution at Microsoft. We go to the next slide. One of the things that is really unique about this solution is it combines qual data with quant data that you collect in surveys. You have all of these scales where customer gives you feedback on a quant scale, like from 1 to 10, how satisfied you are. But you also have these open-ended questions where customers are going in detail about explaining about why they gave you a 5 versus a 10. Most of the text analytics solutions that are out there, they only focus on qual. They do not connect it back to quant. The unique aspect of this solution that we have developed with Frank is it combines quant feedback to get that high predictive power and does qual modeling to help you with discovery of nuances that customers are embedding in their feedback. So it gives you the best of both worlds with quant and qual. Another differentiating aspect, and we're going to talk about this in a second, is the drivers. And a lot of the solutions that you will see out there, they enable you with just the themes. But this solution helps you understand which one of these are meaningful. Before we started on this journey with Frank, our goal for the text analytics solution was very simple. We wanted to create something which enables us with deep insights from customers' feedback, and also helps us obtain those meaningful drivers that really are driving customer satisfaction. A lot of the times, customers mention things when you're asking them for feedback that they're not thinking of when they are giving you the customer satisfaction score. So it kind of brings out that nuanced insight based on that open-ended feedback. So the objectives when we started on this journey were very simple. We wanted smarter categorization of themes, and not only themes that we think customers are thinking of, going in from a customer-focused view, understanding what they are thinking rather than imposing our worldview on the themes. Of course, we are a bunch of data scientists, so we wanted to do this with a high accuracy and not just like come out of a solution which is not accurate or reflective of the feedback. Enable text-based drivers. And finally, we wanted to develop a solution that is customized to our needs, that is focused on our business goals and objectives, rather than just giving us some AI categories based on the data science. We wanted to connect and bridge the gap between data science and business goals. So the thing that is really, really important in this solution is the fact that most of the open-ended feedback is often wasted is corrected by this solution. My team runs one of the largest customer and partner experience survey at Microsoft. We collect feedback from over 65,000 customers and partners every quarter from across the globe, like 100 different countries and 40 different languages. Like I said, it's humanly not possible to go through that feedback and kind of categorize it, understand it, synthesize it. So the step one with this particular process is leveraging AI to do this at scale, go through all of this feedback and give us insights. I'm going to pass it on to Frank at this point, so he can talk to you about what are some of the key things we found out with this solution. Frank, over to you.
Yeah, then the point here on this slide is that the key difference to what we really paid attention to is to build codes and categories and themes that are very granular. Yeah, you see on the left, these were the themes Microsoft had in the past. But we built basically it much more granular, and this then really drives understanding, and also you then know what to do. If you are good or bad at licensing, you not really know what it is. Is it the pricing? Is it the structure? Is it complex? Is it the access? So really make it granular, makes it actionable, and this drives impact. So, but then you need a technology which really can take this huge and long verbatims and really categorize it like a human. So to find such a technology, we did a huge scan of available technologies out there in text analytics. And the typical methodology and most methods you know of are unsupervised learning. They are so widely used because they are so easy to use. You just throw in data and text and it finds clusters. But what we how we assessed the different technologies was not looking at whether or not it makes sense, but really had a look, can we take this information to predict the rating, to predict outcomes? Only if a machine can really take it to predict outcomes, there is a real information in there, and there's the aim was to have a categorization theme which has at least the same information as human coding, as a human would categorize it. So we found supervised learning then, where basically man teaches the AI, got better, but was still by far not the same predictive power. So this is R square compared to manual coding. But then we found a deep learning technology which enables you to often be even better than manual coding, because the machine doesn't get tired. It's always consistent if you teach it right. It gives you probability scores, and it gives you sentiment scores that are much better than human-produced sentiment scores. All this together gives at scale a categorization of human quality. But this is unfortunately not enough, because what we discovered over dozens and maybe hundreds of projects is the following. What you do when you categorize verbatims and text is basically you end up with frequencies of topics, right? So here you see a lot of bubbles which are topics, and what you would assume is the often mentioned topics are the most important ones. Because, I mean, this is what you ask the customer. You ask, why? Please tell me why. Yeah? But actually, what it turns out that basically they are unrelated if it happens to when you measure the impact. This has multiple reasons. I can talk for hours on that. So one is people mention top of mind things. The other is they are often not aware of what drives their decision. So there's a mismatch of how often people are saying something and what's the real impact. There is really where the magic comes into play. There are those which are less frequent but much more impactful, where you need to work on. And that is where the true impact of the technology comes into play. So the second step is you need a kind of a key driver analysis to measure the impact of the topics. Yeah. So that's a process. It's a two-step process. First, apply the right AI to categorize the unstructured text, and then apply a key driver analysis to identify the impact of it. And we apply causal machine learning for a simple reason, and this I will show you in a minute. First, Rajul, what she got out of it.
Yeah, no, thanks, Frank. That's something that we, and again, was really, really important for us. Like Frank said, when you are asked to give feedback, a lot of time we are recalling the top of mind or the most recent experiences. But when we are actually evaluating our overall satisfaction with a brand in customer satisfaction questions, we are thinking about the overall experience and not just the most recent or the top of mind. So a lot of times customers, in our case, were mentioning things that seemed on paper like, oh my gosh, that needs to be fixed. But when we did the key driver analysis, we found out we're not at all relevant. Like, everybody complains about licenses. These are commercial customers. Licenses are hard. Billing statements are hard. Like, no company does it right. And we continue to, work with our licensing team. And there came a point of diminishing return with that, because they came back and said, hey, we have fixed everything we can. Like, this is literally the part of the thing. And then when we did the driver analysis, we figured out that licensing actually doesn't drive any of the customer satisfaction, even when it's the most frequently mentioned theme. Whereas on the other hand, not many people talk about their account team, but when they do, like when they have a very good experience with their account team, that really lifts their customer satisfaction. And that's a low-hanging fruit for us, because that just means that there's more scope for improvement there, where we can have like more human interaction, there's more actionability to it. So you can think of it as the hidden levers that you will not find in an obvious way mentioned by customers, but they're really, really meaningful and important.
Yeah, I'd like to give you a sneak view on the dashboard, how this looks like. I take another example of a study we did for Sonos, and basically what you see is basically the key driver metrics here. So the most often topic when you ask Sonos customers is great sound, but actually the sound is good enough. Yeah, it doesn't make sense to improve even further. There are other things, but not so often mentioned, but are really important. And actually, this is what we did 2 years ago with them. And the nice thing is, here's a predictor. Yeah, and we can basically simulate what will happen if we improve that. Yeah, and they worked on this reliability issue, and the prediction were spot on. And this was where the senior management was truly impressed. Also, it comes with a fiscal predictor and so forth. There are much more insights you can get out of. For instance, you can understand why the NPS changed. Yeah, what are the true reasons for that? Or even have some insights on are some topics rational, yeah, like flexibility is purely directly driving likely to recommend, but great sound is purely an emotional topic. It drives just sentiment. This tells you when people speak about sound, they don't mean certain characteristics, they mean the feeling they get out of it. So that's a quick snapshot on how such a tool can look like. You can click on buttons and get all the verbatims for that. So back to the presentation. Where was it? Okay. Back to the presentation. So we mentioned that we apply deep learning and we apply causal machine learning. And this is for a reason. So if you apply key driver analysis, regression basically, you arrive typically here on an R-square of 0.5, yeah, which is even good because it's a multivariate analysis. Oftentimes, companies are doing kind of a comparison. What is the NPS with and without? How does it differentiate between promoters versus detractors? But the only thing what you get are spurious correlations, so it's very dangerous. Instead, you really need a multivariate analysis. So regression is a good way, but when you apply machine learning, you even can double the insights. Why? First of all, you get the interactions and the nonlinearities measured and modeled, which accounts for 30%, and you get indirect effects. So key driver analysis is only direct effects. That's why we call it causal AI, because it also measures indirect effects. So this is not because we love statistics. It is for a simple reason, because then the recommendations will work better. I will give you a quick example. Yeah, imagine there are two doctors, Dr. X and Dr. Rajul. Yeah, let me ask you, which doctor would you choose if one has a better measurement and better diagnosis? Yeah, if you go there, you give blood, and one of them, basically Dr. Rajul, has a better measuring machine and also better knowledge to analyze those measurements. So yeah, if the measurement is 2x better and the diagnosis is 2x better, it will end up in 80% right prescriptions instead of 80% wrong prescriptions. And this is why we're doing all these efforts of proper text analytics and proper key driver analysis. It will basically end up in better results. So let me summarize this in the 5 steps we promised to give. The 5 steps of AI are, first of all, automatic categorization. So on scale, that's very helpful. That's basically the basis for everything. Then with causal AI, we can identify hidden drivers and leakages and really understand what are the key one or two things the business should focus on. The same model provides a predictive and a simulation feature. So senior management can really take the slider and play and simulate and think where to invest the next dollar. It also provides an interactive dashboard which has an AI-powered management summary. So there are no written reports anymore. The dashboard writes its management summary itself. And the last point we didn't talk about, but this was basically the second step with the work with Microsoft. We took the text analytics model we use for text categorization and applied it in real-time surveying. So basically, when someone puts a response in the open-end box, in real time we categorize what he says, and basically the bot will mirror, okay, I understood this, is this right? Could you tell me more about it? So there's a certain structure of prompting it. This brings not just double of input, but also 50% more predictive power. So that's the next stage we took to use the tech we are using and to elaborate the whole system even more. Last thing, as Rajul promised, we have prepared a little package, a DIY package for you. So you can email me, frank@cx/ai.com, and I send it to you. So it includes a web class you can take to learn how exactly this method works, an ebook, and also an access to a dashboard with a video tutor. So with that, you get deep understanding and in principle could also do the process by yourself. So just email me, frank@cx/ai.com. Now I give it to Rajul to summarize.
Thanks, Frank. All right, so I'll just bring it home with the final key takeaways of this. One thing that we see a lot happen in customer surveys is we get too obsessed with numbers. We talk all the time about what's the overall, customer satisfaction score. And we waste a lot of this open-ended feedback because just because we don't have means to synthesize it, that's where all of the richness of customer input lies. So just stop wasting customer feedback, be more efficient, more economic, and more effective with your insights by incorporating qualitative as well as quantitative feedback. And then, drive ROI of insights by pinpointing one or two key strategic directions. Like I said, there are a lot of topics that customers point out in their feedback, they drive nothing. So be very smart about where do you want to put your resources, which directions you want to guide your senior leadership to take the next step in improving customer experience with your brand. And then finally, once you go to them with this consistent advice and recommendations based on evidence-based insights, they really value you, and you gain a seat at the table because now you've become, instead of just being a researcher, now you have gained a seat with them and their trust. So with that, we'll wrap it up. If you guys have any questions, we would love to answer those. Kiara, over to you.
Thanks so much, guys. That was really great. We do have a few minutes for questions, so please throw those in the chat box if you have any. But just a couple questions. How many languages can you work with this tech?
Actually, over 100 now.
Wow, that is really amazing and very impressive. And do you guys kind of have like a next step of what you're going to innovate on in the future?
Yeah, we do. Actually, Frank mentioned it briefly. We are working on AI chatbot now. What we have realized is a lot of time customers, they would like to interact a little bit with you, especially if they've had just a recent really bad or really good experience. They're more interactive with you. So the chatbot actually helps you create that engagement with them. And like Frank said, it's far more predictive because you are basing all of the prompts that the chatbot gives in its response to you on the text analytics that you've already built upon. So that's like the next innovation. We're also doing a lot of prediction work on our customer satisfaction.
That's great. Okay, we got a couple questions here. So Beth wants to know, does the system only work with survey data?
So the system doesn't care where the data come from. So it works with unstructured text and quantitative data about outcomes. Yeah, it matches some kind of unstructured feedback with some kind of outcomes. So you can use it with social data if you have, on a personal level, a certain outcome. So the actually applications are quite vast. So customer experience is, of course, most prominent, but we use it for brand consideration, for website optimization, conversion optimization. You can even use it for assessing creatives. And yeah, you ask a question and try to get a rating. And the beauty of it is basically it's so short, so short, but still it gives so rich insights.
That's really great. Fiona wants to know, what has been the reaction from senior leaders?
Yeah, sorry, Frank, I'll take it from a Microsoft perspective, and then maybe you can talk about Sonos' experience. We have had a really good it was received really well by senior leaders. I think for the most part, when we weren't doing this, there was no interest in understanding verbatim feedback. We weren't even able to scale it to the point where we can say, hey, we know what customers are talking about. So we weren't confident in our feedback from that. But now, we actually get requests from senior leaders to get us verbatim reports outside of this. We have a cadence of reporting, and they have asked us to give us a supplemental verbatim report. It's we want to know what they're talking about. We want to know what's meaningful. We want to know what's driving their satisfaction. And a lot of business groups, which kind of are shoving this under the carpet with the scores, now they are hearing it in customer voice. That has just opened a vast world for us to engage with a lot of non-traditional business groups as well. Frank?
Maybe a comment to that. Senior leadership, of course, depending on which level, but basically what they care about is results. Yeah? And they are not the experts in the methodology, so and they're always a little bit afraid of, you can tell me anything. But if you dare to make predictions, and now we can take this technology and have the confidence to move the needle and to predict, when we do that, this will happen. Of course, the future is uncertain, but you have a good system which gives you confidence to do that. And as I said, that's actually what happened with Sonos, and that's really where the C-suite begins to love you, when you really dare to do this prediction, and this becomes true then. Yeah, and also when you not only predict the NPS number, but put a dollar sign on it. You can do that by either simply assuming what is a NPS point worth, or you do an extra analysis. What we typically do, basically from customer data, you can basically model out what is the impact of one NPS point towards customer value. And this information then you can put in the dashboard, and you have dollar signs to it.
That's great. Well, thank you both so much. We are right at the end of our session here, and I really appreciate your time and great presentation. If you guys